So these were really, really key themes across most of the feedback that we got. So young people are asking us asking the youth sector in Oxfordshire who are delivering youth voice activity or who want to deliver youth voice activity or who have a statutory requirement and a statutory duty to do that. They're asking for one language, so no more jargon. We have a unified framework across the county. They're asking for professionals who are trained and that they receive high quality training in this area, that we're looking at real equality, real equity. So smashing down some of those systemic barriers and ensuring that diversity and inclusion aren't just buzzwords, but they're a real requirement. And there's some really interesting ways in which we can think about doing that. And that's part of the more detailed report. Levelling up the skills, so training for the young people so that they have the confidence, the skills to be able to debate, to be able to present, to be able to lead. And we're seeing those skills being developed in our youth voice champions and in other groups, in other youth voice groups across the county that I've got access to and contact with. We're really seeing the development of that confidence and the ability to present and lead in those spaces and in national spaces now, as we've just heard from Katie and from Esther. They're asking for supported, trusted adults and safe and brave spaces. Again, you'll see the link through to the national strategy in terms of what we're hearing from a local level. So young people are saying that they need supported, trusted adults and safe and brave spaces so that they can start having difficult conversations, so that they can start thinking about how they represent themselves, but how others might be represented in those spaces, and how we encourage critical thinking and critical debate without fear and without victimisation of the other. They want consistency, so no more one-off projects. They want high quality opportunities that stick around, so we have longevity. Fixing the feedback loop, what we heard time and time and time again, and it will be of no surprise to many of you in the room, I'm sure, was that often young people will be heard. So they will give an idea, they'll be involved in consultation, they'll be involved in a piece of work, but they don't always know what happens to that information. And it's absolutely imperative that even if nothing happens, or even if decisions can't be shifted and changed for many reasons, young people want to know why, and they want to know what's happened to their involvement and engagement. They want to build a network, so they want to build an official network for young people to consult on county-wide issues. So again, thinking about that, how are we doing this in our communities and on a local-based level? Then how do we feed that into an Oxfordshire-based level that then will transcend into the national level that Esther was just talking about, and vice versa? How are we bringing down what's happening at a national level into the county level, then out into districts and communities? And remuneration, so recognising that young people's time is valuable and compensating them for it. And that can be in a range of different ways, but that's a piece of work that we need to look at and think about moving forward. So they were the recommendations. Those recommendations were taken back to Oxfordshire Youth, Oxfordshire County Council. Those recommendations in the report have gone back out to all young people involved and to organisations that were involved. And based on the recommendations, Oxfordshire Youth and the Youth Voice Champions, who have grown in size, are now working in partnership with Oxfordshire County Council to develop a localised youth voice strategy. So a youth voice strategy for the youth sector in Oxford. Focus on 11 to 19, up to 25 for those who are SEND. And again, really thinking about how do we engage with those that are often unheard and underrepresented. And in the call today, I heard somebody mention how we, at a national level, how young people who might have parents in prison are engaged in this process. And that's already got me thinking about, right, how do I reach out? How do I engage? And I've just noted down somebody's name from Seen and Heard, so I'll be in touch at the end of the call. So we're going to be developing a local strategy in partnership with Oxfordshire County Council. We're looking at a hub and spoke model. So we've got a hub at the moment. We've got a group of young people who are meeting weekly and doing some really detailed training and some detailed work. As I say, 3 of those are in the room. We've got 9 young people. If you're sat thinking, I've got a young person who would absolutely want to be involved in this piece of work, we would welcome them. We're a really friendly, supportive, diverse, safe group. So we'd encourage you to get in touch with us. And then we're going to develop spoke models. So the hub group will go out to districts, we'll go out to different organisations, different communities, to ensure that we're hearing from both young people and professionals across the sector to develop the strategy. And the strategy will look at things like us coming together to collaborate on defining what we mean by youth voice, on looking at what some of the key principles are, on where there are areas of good practice, how do we share good practice, how do we develop a community of participation across Oxfordshire, what is a model that we might want to adopt as Oxfordshire, and showcasing the really good work that is going on, and then looking at those outcomes from a youth voice perspective that are central for the development of the young person and the individual, that are central for the development of the organisation, and that are central for the development of our communities and society more broadly. So I would ask you to stay tuned to see how you can get involved. I will be launching some comms around this early next week and coming out and speaking to you all I will be speaking to as many of you as possible about how you can get involved in this piece of work, both you as professionals and the young people that you support.